Even before coronavirus, the NHS was struggling to cope, thanks in part to an ageing population and ever more expensive ways of keeping us alive. Coronavirus is challenging the National Health Service in ways that the service has never known before. Quite apart from the thousands who are dying or who will die because of C-19, there are hundreds, perhaps thousands of patients with traditional ailments such as cancer who could die because they can't get the kind of treatment that they'd normally get from the NHS. This is the Michael Crick report for Mail Plus. 2 weeks ago, letters started going out from hospitals. Because of coronavirus, many cancer appointments were cancelled, along with surgical cancer operations due after Easter. Bad news for Jo, who says her daughter-in-law, in her early 30s, had her mastectomy cancelled, despite being told only days before that her breast must be removed quickly.
And they said, we can't wait to get the breast off. We'll do the reconstruction as and when the virus has gone. You've got to have that done to save your life. And now 2 weeks later, they're saying that she can't have the operation. My daughter-in-law is very young. She's in the 3% margin of people that get cancer, breast cancer. So she's very, very young with a very young family. She lost her mother at a very young age from this, so you can imagine how frightened she is. She was so frightened on Friday evening, she rang me and said, if I just get a knife and cut my breast off, they'll have to do something, won't they? And I said, it doesn't work like that. So I can't comfort her. Nobody can comfort her. She's bereft. She does understand that the nurses and the oncologists, it's not their decision. They've been lovely, and they are trying to help her. But unfortunately, the decision has come from higher. It's not just Mary, there's so many thousands of other people in this situation.
Louis White, too, is anxious. He has blood cancer and had monthly checkups to make sure the cancer levels didn't get too high. Now he says those tests are cancelled as well.
These are important appointments because, especially with blood cancer, you have to get your blood taken at least once a month so that you can check where your cancer level is. I'm unable to do that at the moment. So it is a panicky situation for people who have blood cancer because you don't want your levels to go up and then it becomes uncontrollable. And that's when you have issues where obviously you'll be put in intensive care or whatever it may be.
So you've no idea when the next time will be that your blood level can be tested?
No.
Just as worrying for Louis is the operation that might save him has now been postponed until when? He doesn't know.
I need a bone marrow transplant. It's called an allogeneic transplant, which means that I need a donor. I do have a donor and they were ready to go, so everything was in place for me to do the transplant. However, it's been put on hold now because of this situation. I am worried, as anyone would be. However, I'm trying to stay calm and just like I said, take it one day at a time.
The charity Cancer Research UK has warned such delays are bound to mean more cancer patients won't survive. But now the NHS is making moves to ensure some cancer appointments and operations take place on different sites to those handling CV-19.
There has been guidance sent out from the NHS about trying to work imaginatively in the way that services are delivered to make sure that the NHS can continue to develop these services safely. And that might be locating surgical services on a different site so that you're keeping those services away from COVID patients, or it could be running a chemotherapy service on a different site for the same reasons, really, so that you're minimising risk to people. But there's a lot to sort out, and we would strongly support the NHS's drive to start making sure that urgent cancer treatment does get done and that it stops getting cancelled.
But there's another problem too. There are signs that many patients are scared right now to go into hospital for fear of catching coronavirus at a time when they may be especially vulnerable. And it also seems that many parents haven't been taking their sick children into hospital quickly enough. Last week, the website Mumsnet had a posting from someone who claimed to work on a children's intensive care unit in London. 4 children had recently died, they said, but wouldn't have had they been brought to hospital in good time. The NHS's own 111 helpline seems to be among the reasons why parents are avoiding taking kids to hospital.
We know that attendances at our ED departments, emergency departments, are down about 50%, 60% on what they were. And what we're starting to hear is some anecdotes that some things like appendicitis or fevers and sepsis in children are not necessarily presenting, because parents are heeding the message, they're staying home, but sometimes they're actually being too good. And we actually think that the message should be stay home, save lives, save the NHS. But if you're sick and your child is sick, the NHS is here and it's a safe place for you to come.
NHS England say people with other serious ailments should still come forward for essential care, initially by ringing the 111 helpline, then perhaps by going to accident and emergency. The NHS has difficult decisions to make, difficult balances to strike here. But it does seem that the death figures resulting from this pandemic won't just include those afflicted by the virus itself.